Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. More praise is heaped on Zhang Li as he meets President Xi Jinping. Hong Kong records the highest number of new COVID cases in 9 months. And the United States braces for its coldest Christmas in decades. Chief Executive Zhang Li has again been complimented during his maiden duty visit, this time by President Xi Jinping. At their meeting today, Li pledged to strictly enforce the one country, two systems principle with the support of Beijing. Joanna Ho reports.
On the third day of his first duty visit to Beijing, Chief Executive Zhang Li met President Xi Jinping in Zhongnanhai, the Communist Party headquarters. Also present were Vice Premier Han Zheng, Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Director Xia Baolong, and Luo Huining, Director of the Central Government's Liaison Office in Hong Kong. They also attended yesterday's meeting between the Hong Kong leader and Premier Li Keqiang. Li once again was praised for his efforts and achievements in leading the SAR since taking office in July 1st. Xi complimented the chief executive for being responsible and promising to safeguard national security and restore the economy.
中央对你和特别行政区政府的工作是充分肯定的。
The central government fully acknowledges your administration's work, the president said. Xi also vowed to uphold the one country, two systems principle for Hong Kong. Li thanked the president for his continuous guidance and support for the SAR government. He pledged to strictly enforce the one country, two systems principle under the constitution as the city returns to prosperity after restoring order. Li leaves Beijing tomorrow and will meet the press on his arrival back in Hong Kong to sum up his 4-day visit. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's COVID infections have reached a 9-month high after rising for 3 consecutive days. There are 20,252 new cases, of which less than 5% are imported. It's the first time since March 18th that infections surpassed the 20,000 mark. Another 46 people died from COVID, while 45 others are receiving intensive care. More than 4,300 patients remain in hospitals, which are now operating at 110% capacity. In Macau, long queues were formed as residents scrambled for medical supplies or to visit doctors. This came as the city relaxed more COVID rules, including scrapping PCR tests for arrivals. Patience was needed for people standing in line to see doctors at the Macau Canidrome. Many waited for more than 1 hour, and some for 4 hours or longer. There were similar scenes at pharmacies and hospital emergency centers. Macau reported only a few hundred COVID infections at the start of the month, before they peaked last Tuesday with 402 cases. The government has since stopped reporting mild or asymptomatic infections, in line with a similar change on the mainland. The number of reported cases, those with symptoms or need to be hospitalized, has hovered below 100 in recent days. Many stores in the gambling hub were closed, and bank branches have suspended counter services. Some restaurants have stopped dining services voluntarily or simply shut down. The epidemic worsened as Macau relaxed COVID curbs for inbound travelers twice in 1 week. Arrivals, including those from Hong Kong and Taiwan, no longer have to undergo a PCR test. Macau lawmaker Ron Lam Yutao said now is a bad time to ease curbs for people coming in. He said the city didn't expect the chaos that resulted with the relaxation, despite 3 years of preparation. The government defended its relaxation policy, saying it will not worsen the epidemic. It pointed out that only 5% of the arrivals from Hong Kong tested positive. Social Affairs Chief said less than 40% of quarantine facilities are occupied. She estimated that about 1/6 of the population is infected, but denied that there's been a dramatic surge in infections.
Back in Hong Kong, Cathay Pacific says flights won't be affected, although cabin crew announced a work to rule to press for better conditions. The Flight Attendants Union said members endorsed the decision. No details have been given, but they urged all 5,000 members to strictly follow official working rules and hours. Attendants have complained that they have inadequate rest between flights and are ineligible for outport allowances on same-day round trips. Cathay Pacific expressed disappointment with the decision, saying the union had a different stance when they met last week. But the carrier said flights will operate as scheduled, as it believes staff will remain on duty. The government has been urged to set up clearer guidelines to identify deaths caused by heat stroke at work. The call was made by a concern group which believes that 4 of the sudden deaths it investigated this year were caused by overexposure to heat. Joanna Ho reports.
The Association for the Rights of Industrial Accident Victims has followed up on 67 fatal work injuries this year. They included 21 sudden deaths, 4 of which were suspected to be caused by heat stroke. However, the group said the figures may not represent the actual situation, as many workers are unaware that heat stroke is a kind of occupational injury and hence did not make a report. Association organizer Yu Ka-ho said in principle, families of those who died after suffering a heat stroke at work can claim compensation. But the procedures are usually difficult and complex, as current death certificates only specify the most direct cause, such as acute heart disease, which could be triggered by a heat stroke. Yu said people usually have to pay an extra $100,000 to $200,000 to an expert for a report to prove heat stroke as the cause of death. He urged the government to set clearer laws on compensation and enhance collaboration with the medical sector to come up with better ways to identify on-the-job deaths caused by heat stroke. The group also called for stringent instructions for employers to prevent staff from being overcome by heat, saying the current guidelines are inadequate. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Traffic control measures will be implemented tomorrow in Central, Wan Chai, Qingxiaocui, and West Kowloon, as Christmas revelers are expected to come out in force.
Police will adopt appropriate and relative crowd management measures, including road closures, and with a view to ensure the public can enjoy the festive season in a safe and orderly manner.
Acting Superintendent Hall said roads in Lan Kwai Fang, including the Egler Street, Winghua Lan, and Wong An Lan, will be closed from 2 p.m. tomorrow. More roads might be shut depending on the crowds. At West Kowloon Cultural District, Museum Drive will be sealed off from vehicles from 7 p.m. Motorists will not be allowed to enter Star Ferry Pier and Kowloon Park Drive from 7:30 p.m. Police urged people to take public transport to ease road congestion. Overseas, a powerful Arctic storm sweeping across the United States has triggered a state of emergency in many places and raised fears about the safety of the homeless. More than 5,000 flights were canceled, disrupting holiday plans as the U.S. hunkers down for its coldest Christmas in a generation. Azam Khan reports.
Temperatures plunged across the United States as an Arctic winter storm brewed ahead of the Christmas weekend. It has already brought high winds, heavy snow, and freezing temperatures, moving through the central United States to the east, affecting more than 100 million people. Thousands of flights were canceled, disrupting the holiday plans for tens of thousands of Americans. Many people tried to avert the deep freeze by staying at home, as the United States braced itself for the coldest Christmas in decades.
It's not like a snow day, you know, when you're a kid. This is serious stuff. And My team is prepared to help communities weather this, no pun intended, this storm, this freeze, and because we need to cope.
But the homeless across the country are already suffering the brutal cold.
Yeah, I was out in the cold, and they're freezing my toes off.
Cold spells have historically taken a toll on the thousands of people living on the streets of Oregon's biggest city. Health experts advised people to be warmly attired, warning that the super cold weather can cause frostbite on bare skin within minutes. States of emergency were declared in Kentucky, North Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, New York, and Oklahoma. Azim Khan, HKIBC.
Inflation in Japan has risen to 3.7%, the highest in 41 years. The consumer price index for last month advanced as a weak yen made food and energy more expensive. Another reason was that firms kept on passing rising costs to consumers to avoid losses. Japan has been trying to boost inflation for decades by keeping interest rates low, but it now faces another problem. Households have to cope with rising prices, even as salaries remain stagnant. Festive joy was in short supply at the Hong Kong stock market today, as the Hang Seng Index edged lower on the last trading session before Christmas. Tech shares lost favor as internet giant NetEase led the slide with a 2% drop. Alibaba was 1.6% lower amid fears that a rise in COVID cases on the mainland could pose fresh problems to the economy. But there was some consolation for local investors. Hong Kong stocks are now up 30% from a 13-year low in October. And now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 86 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent down $3.60, Meituan down $3, and Alibaba down $1.40. AIA up $2.80, Kuaishou down $2.45, and BYD Company down $7.50. Forex trading against Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.28, British pound at 9.41, Australian dollar at 5.22. Moving on to the UK market, the London FTSE is currently up 3 points. On to the weather now. The Christmas weekend will be mainly fine and dry, with cool mornings. Temperatures will range between 14 and 19 degrees. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thanks for watching. Good night.